Family and Consumer Sciences Extension at the University of Kentucky. Our agents share research knowledge with individuals, families, and communities to improve quality of life. Building strong families, building Kentucky. It starts with us.
Hello, I'm Vicki Wynn with the Marshall County Extension Office, UK Cooperative Extension Service. I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent, and today I want to talk to you about healthy eating on a budget. And when we talk about meal planning or healthy eating, we need to be aware of several things. We need to be mindful of what we currently have in our pantry, what we currently have in our refrigerator or freezer, and then what do we need to purchase? Have we looked at the sales from the grocery stores locally to make sure that we're aware of the kinds of things that are on sale at a good buy? And we need to also think about purchasing things that are in season. If we're looking at produce, to include that in our meal plan. Some weeks and months are better for some items than others. I know right now in the grocery store, apples are very plentiful, and you're seeing a lot of good varieties of apples. So those are good to include in your meal plans. And we want to think about some of the most healthy, nutritious foods that you can keep in your pantry at all times, and produce that you can purchase and use when you're planning meals for your family. In my basket, I have some of the best buys. I have some of the most nutritious foods that you always want to keep on hand. And that's bananas, that's cabbage, cornmeal, oatmeal, eggs, and then we have dried beans. So all of these items are things that are very good values for your money. And you can build these items into your meal plan. We have Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes that use some of these items. I think in particular the cabbage rolls are just delicious. And then the cabbage noodle casserole recipe. These are both recipes that your family will really enjoy. And I have some people tell me, you know, I'm not really a cabbage fan, but maybe you haven't had it prepared in such a way as these recipes are. And they are very tasty because of the other added ingredients in those dishes. So keeping in mind that these are very versatile items to keep in your pantry, in your produce purchases, we want to make sure that we can build a meal around some of these items. You know, eggs are still some of the most economical things that you can buy at the grocery store, full of nutrition, and there's so many different dishes that you can prepare using eggs. They're not just for breakfast. So there's just a lot of things that you can include eggs in that are good meal plan choices for your family. In addition to thinking about the nutritious foods, we want to think about portion sizes. We need to revisit what traditional portion sizes are. You know, we live in a supersized society, and we think about foods in portions that are not recommended in terms of our normal diet and our dietary needs. For example, I see this muffin, and this muffin, when I read the package, there were 3 muffins in the package, and on the label it said there were 6 servings in that package. So that means when I get ready to eat a serving of this muffin, I'm going to need to cut it in half. That's my 1 serving. The nutrition information is also available there for 1 serving, which is 1/2 of the muffin. So I would need to cut that muffin in half, put it in an airtight container, or I could put it in a reusable plastic container and have it for another meal. Or I could cut it in half and share it with someone else and we both would have 1 serving of the muffins. Also, when we think about portion sizes, this is a deck of cards, just a standard deck of playing cards. This is a 3-ounce serving of meat. This is the recommended size for a serving of meat, whether that be any protein, whether it be beef, a beef patty, a chicken portion, a fish portion. This is the standard size. And when I think about this, I think of all the plates I've seen that really have more than a standard serving at one time. So, deck of cards, and a lot of times they say about the size of your hand, thereabout, is a good way to think about measuring a portion of your protein. Also, the plate that we use can influence serving sizes. This is a standard dinner plate, and this is more of a luncheon size plate or a salad plate. If you're filling up this plate instead of this one, you're probably going to have more than your servings should allow. So think about using a smaller size serving plate, and it looks like you have a full meal portion. And it will have adequate portion for a standard meal in the smaller plate, and it's kind of a mind thing. The large plate, sometimes we feel like we're not eating very much if it's not full. So just be mindful of your serving sizes and the way that you portion it on your plates. We want to talk about when you go to the grocery store and purchase produce. And as I said, some things are in season now and they're a very good buy. But if we're going to be purchasing something that we're not going to use all at once, we need to make sure that it's repackaged properly, that we either use some airtight container or a reusable plastic container with the excess. I know bananas right now are very popular in smoothies and in frozen treats. So if you find bananas and they're just about ready to eat and for some reason you're not able to finish all of them in time, go ahead and peel those bananas, put them in a zipper bag, and put them in a freezer. Save them for smoothies or other frozen desserts. They make a very good portion for later on. And actually, a banana is 2 servings. If you think about the size of a lot of bananas, they're quite large, and two people can share a banana and they've each had 1 serving. So if you do find yourself purchasing more than you're able to use immediately, go ahead and portion that, put it in the freezer, put it in a zipper bag. Just like the bananas, if you have too many and they will spoil before you can eat them all, just make sure that you break down those larger quantities into different packaging that you can store properly so that you'll be able to enjoy them later. And that brings to mind some of the foods that you buy in the frozen food section. The quantity is much more than you will use immediately. And I think about the chopped onions. I do enjoy purchasing chopped onions when they're on special because I use them a lot in things that I cook, but it is such a time saver that they're already chopped. You just take out what you need. But what I enjoy doing is going ahead and portioning those in 1 cup portions. So if my chili calls for 1 cup of chopped onions, I don't have to get out the cutting board and the knife and the raw onions and chop those. According to this bag on the Nutrition Facts label, it says that there are about 9 servings, and that's 2/3 cup. So in my mind, that's about 6 cups of onions in this bag. So yes, I was able to make 6 individual bags, and what I usually do is, if the bag is adequately put back together, I can store that and have my 6 cups of onions ready, portioned out and ready for my recipe. You could also put this in another zipper bag, a larger zipper bag, like a gallon size. But just taking out one, putting those back in the freezer works out really well. And you're always able to take that portion that you need and use it immediately. All right. In the frozen section, there are a lot of items that you may only need a small amount. But think about how you can repackage that and use it later. And of course, generic and store brands is another way that we can save at the grocery store. There's a lot of staples for your pantry that are store brands, and you have to know what your family is willing to compromise on, whether it be flavor, whether it be appearance. But I think we all know that some of the store brands are just as good, if not better sometimes, than the name brands. And of course, the cost savings is quite substantial with the store brand or generic. And so I urge you to explore those options and see if there are some things that you can substitute in your grocery shopping for name brand items. Another thing that we can consider at the grocery store when we're shopping for meal planning for our family is less meats. Think about the other proteins that you can substitute, such as the dried beans. Dried beans are a very good source of protein, and any type of dried bean that you would like to substitute in a meal makes for a very good nutrition substitute for meat. A lot of times cuts of meat are expensive, so look for the meats that are on sale or some of the less desirable cuts of meat that you could possibly cook in your slow cooker. And that's one of the things that we can certainly not compromise, but yet it may be in just a little bit different form than we're accustomed to having. And we've talked about produce in season. Keep that in mind. Use sales and coupons. A lot of stores are offering incentives. A lot of stores have apps for your smartphone that when you shop with them, they're going to offer you some coupons online. So check that out if you're interested in knowing more about your grocery shopping or wherever you have your favorite supermarket. See if they offer some special deals, whether it be coupons or electronic deals that you may have on an app. And of course, brown bagging it or packing a lunch, making sure that you've bought things that you can portion down. A lot of convenience foods that people grab to have for lunch or to have later, and they're packaged with extra packaging. It's a complete meal, but the cost is quite a bit more than if you purchased your own items and put together your own brown bag meal. Of course, the zipper bags or small individual containers work out really well for packing and making sure that you have got the portion size that you need and the quantities. And remembering to put in one of the frozen inserts that will keep your food cold and store it properly during the time between it's been prepared and when you will eat it. And of course, meal planning, when you go to the grocery store, you have to consider your likes and dislikes of your family. You have to know what they're going to eat, what they're not going to eat. We don't want to spend money unnecessarily and then end up, I know a lot of people tell me, I've been to the grocery store and I can't think of anything to fix. So it's best to have a plan. It's best to have a list and stick with it, making sure that you've checked what's in your pantry, that you have all the necessary ingredients. In terms of beverages at the grocery store, let's keep in mind that water is our best option, and that's free out of the tap. It's about 3 cents a gallon coming out of your tap. So that's the most economical beverage you can have. If you cut back on purchasing sodas, it's going to be quite a cost saver for your budget. So when you think about milk, that's necessary to buy, and of course water. You can make tea with your water, purchasing tea bags, making your own tea, so that's very economical as well. So just keep in mind water first, and encourage your family to drink more water, and it's very beneficial in every way. When we think about purchasing items that we need to stock our pantry, buying spices is something that we want to make sure that we have all the spices that are necessary for the recipes we're going to make. But sometimes some of the spices are quite expensive. So if you have a list of spices that you're going to be needing for foods that you're going to prepare, make a list of those and maybe pick up one each month. And by the time you've accumulated a good quantity of your spices, then you will have what you need on hand. The problem with a lot of recipes, they call for just a tiny bit, and then you have that large container that it may take you a long time to use it. So trying to build up a supply of spices over time is really a smart shopper tip. Before you go to the grocery store, let's kind of recap what is the best way to manage a shopping trip is to be prepared. You've surveyed all of your family, you know what dishes they like, you know what's in your pantry, you know what's in your refrigerator, you also know what you have stored in the freezer. You need to make a list of those things that you're out of or running low on that you know you're going to need. Being aware of the store layout is very important as well. I know we have options in the area where we live of where you can buy food, so you need to be familiar with the layout of these stores, where they tend to put their sale items, or where they tend to put their discontinued items, or their markdown items. They may have a special place in the store for those. And if that's something that you are interested in looking at, you just need to be aware of where you can find that in the store. Don't assume that the products on the end caps are always the sale items. It's important to look at the prices and make sure that they are what they seem to be. But those items on the end cap usually do get our attention because we're slowing down, we're taking more time to look, and we want to make sure that if there is something there at a sale price, then we need to check that out. Manager specials also are available in some stores, and when I mentioned about markdown items or discontinued items, when things get close to the use by date or the sell by date, we want to make sure that it's still good quality, that it's safe to eat, but store managers usually know it's coming up on an expiration time and we need to go ahead and move these items. So keep an eye out for that. Unit pricing, and the stores will always have labels on the shelving as far as unit pricing, and that's where you can compare a brand name item and a store brand item or a generic item, and that way you can tell what a good value it is. Always read your nutrition facts or nutrition label. The nutrition label was revised earlier this year, so the new label is on this side. It tells us in bold numbers what the calories are. Typically, that's what people are looking for. The older label, the original label, the calories was just sort of listed in with everything else. Didn't really stand out. But now we're looking and it does show that. There are 14 pieces of information on a nutrition label. So I know we're needing to make our grocery dollars go further. We're needing to get what we need for our families, and especially if we have family members who have special dietary needs. We do have to read labels more often. We have people who have allergies. We need to make sure that there's not an ingredient in there that we're sensitive to. If you're on a special diet, there may be sugars or salt restrictions, and we need to make sure that we are reading the labels and that we're aware of all that information of what is in that food. So building your pantry, making sure that you're covering all the bases at the grocery store. Don't use those coupons just because you have them. Use them only for foods that you are going to use. And check out the recipes at the Extension office. We have a lot of the plated up recipes that are for foods that are in season now, that are really good buys at the grocery store, and those are free and available at every Extension office in the state. So we invite you to come in, ask for more information about healthy eating on a budget, and we'll be more than happy to fill any needs you have related to that. I'm Vicki Wynn. Until next time, we're here at the Marshall County Extension Office, UK Cooperative Extension. Come by and see us.